getting started a little bit late because you probably know the parking has been a little challenging, as well as the weather. But thank you all for coming out and being here to engage in our annual meeting. I am Marcy Johnsen. I'm the current president. I'm stepping down this year, so when we get to the election section, we'll see that I am stepping down, and we have a new slate of officers that have been nominated and some new trustees. So we have a long program. I shouldn't say that. We have a short business meeting, and we'll be considering some bylaw changes that we'll want your input on, and the elections, and we have a wonderful program that's being sponsored here by the Mount St. Vincent. We're here in this beautiful chapel, and I don't get here very often, but when I do, I just am just amazed at the beauty of this facility. So with that, I'd like to welcome Susan Clark, who is going to welcome you from the Mount. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Good morning, and welcome to Providence Mount St. Vincent, or as we affectionately call it, the Mount. I'm Susan Clark. I'm the Public Relations Manager for Providence Mount St. Vincent, and also serve as Annual Giving Manager of our Providence Mount St. Vincent Foundation. I'll be telling you a bit more about the Mount a little later in our program, but I just wanted to extend a really warm welcome on behalf of our residents and staff and sisters. Who is visiting the Mount for the first time? Okay, great. Well, as you will learn, we have a really long history in West Seattle, and we're delighted that you could be with us this morning, and I think you'll find our Providence archives really fascinating. And later in the program, one of our sisters, Sister Charlotte Van Dyke, will tell you a bit of history about the Sisters of Providence and how they arrived in Seattle. So welcome. Oh, and I think I'm your newest member. You have a very persuasive president and executive director, so I signed up, so thank you.
It's like silence in the room. I just want to announce that we have a quorum.
Oh,
no?
Absolutely.
Hello.
On the second.
Hello. I work on bylaws. Call for this meeting and verify that we have a quorum, which we do. We have more than 25 people in attendance today, so again, thank you for coming. So at this point, I'd like to ask you to look at the very back page of the agenda. Does everyone have an agenda packet? If not, there are copies in the back, and there's actually an extra one up here. The back page, excuse me, it's the second page. These are the minutes from the last meeting. If you want to take a few minutes to just review them, and then I would ask for a motion to approve these minutes. Now I can see the people way back there. Welcome, sir, to our annual meeting, the Southwest Seattle Historical Society. Anyone need a little more time for me to do the minutes? Is there a motion to approve these minutes from last year's annual meeting?
Second.
Second, Jamie, thank you. Are there any questions about the minutes or corrections that anyone sees? No? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That's a member. You have to be a voting member, by the way.
I wasn't here last year.
You want your, okay, one abstention from Audrey Zimpy. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. I'd like to turn this over now to Clay Eals, our executive director, who's going to give us an overview.
Well, welcome everybody to our annual session of Gala Fatigue. This says I'm going to be talking for 10 minutes. I'm not doing 10 minutes. Most of you here are well aware of what we've done this past year, and I'm just going to hit some of the quick highlights. And it has been a fantastic year, and I got to say, it's because of all of you here in this room. The first point I want to talk about is we have in the room Dorothy Hendricks, who's the chair of our Words Writers in West Seattle series, which is our local author series at Barnes & Noble once a month. And you may not realize it, but we are heading into the 39th straight session. Ever since it started in October 2013, without a pitch. Thank you, Dorothy, and thank you to everybody else's help. And building on that success, we decided to do the crazy thing of creating another series, which is Southwest Stories. And we started this in the spring. I think we've had 7 or 8 of them since then. They've been fantastic. The neat thing about Southwest Stories is that it rotates among the 5 branches of the Seattle Public Library. And so we get to reach out into our peninsula at different places depending on the topic and the personality of the speaker. And so it's a great outreach mechanism, and it's a great way to inform in the moment, to educate in the moment about our history. And essentially, it's an oral history. I mean, these things are all videotaped. They're on the web forever. They're in our archive. So this is a really strong step forward. I want to recognize Carol Vincent, who's here. She's on the committee that helps put together the programming for this. And if you would like a flyer about either of these series, they are in the back on the table as you came in. And Carol, wave your hand. Some of you may not know Carol Vincent. Her title is that she's done everything. Then the next thing I want to go over is our annual home tour. It just keeps getting better every year. As you know, the title of our home tour is If These Walls Could Talk, which really gets at the core of what we are about. You know, a lot of home tours that you may hear about in the rest of the Seattle area or anywhere in the country, they're more about architectural details, and that's just part of what we do. But for the focus of our home tour, what we really focus on and what we're really the best at is bringing out the stories of the people who inhabit the home. And we did that this year at the Kenny. 1909, and those of you who were there know or have seen the videotape, we had a fantastic history program about that to kick off the day, and then a wonderful tour with people throughout the facility, in taking on the personas of the people whose stories we were telling who lived at the Kenny over the past century. Several of you in the room were involved directly in this tour, and I salute you for all of the time you spent. It was wonderful. We were able to add to our staff this year without adding to our expense. I want Lisa in the back to wave your hand. Some of you don't know Lisa Kramer, our curator. She previously, up until midsummer, worked 30 hours for us, and she was so good that she was headhunted by the state to a half-time job. And so we worked out was to shrink her job to 10 hours and take the extra 20 hours to hire somebody focused on our museum operations. And many of you have met Hannah Chavez, who has started a few months back. She's a delight, and this, this was a wonderful. I don't know if that's called a coincidence, but it's a wonderful result of this, dividing the two functions. Liz is focusing on curation in our collection, and Hannah focusing on the operations of our museum building. We've really gotten better in that department by focusing, and we have a lot of great plans for the future as a result. I'm just thrilled with how that all worked out. The biggest thing this year, of course, was something that is not at our museum, although it's exemplified by our museum, and that is our landmark campaign. We, as an organization, are directly responsible for having landmarked our museum building, the Alki Homestead, and our first one, way back, and we're about 2 months away from 28 years ago when we first picketed at the Admiral Theater, and 6 months later got it landmarked. Those are touchstones of our organizational history. Well, the thing this year has been our We Love the Junction campaign. And this is a result of our having, a couple of years ago, taken the dive into the deep end with commissioning a West Seattle historical survey, West Seattle Junction historical survey. And that survey identified, of all the buildings in the junction, 25 years or older, 2 A's, which are the ones that are sort of slam dunks if we put the work into it to get it done, 6 B's, and then the rest and the B's are, they need a little more research, and the rest are C's. Well, our board was far-sighted to jump right away at the conclusion of the release of the survey. Just days later, we announced our campaign to landmark the 2 A's. And those are the Campbell Building, where Cupcake Royale is in the junction, and the Ham Building, where Easy Street Records is. We're talking 1911 and 1926. And it's a cardinal example of how things take time. Because after we launched the campaign, we were able to get the funds from For Culture to pay for consultants to do the research to prepare nominations. The nominations were completed late summer. The city has had some questions and bounced them back to us, and finally this last month the final versions are at the city. We don't know when the hearings will be, likely next month, January, February. We don't even know yet whether the 2 buildings will be on the same hearing agenda. We'll find that out soon. But clearly that is the biggest new step that we've taken this year, because the West Seattle Junction has no landmarks. And we all know it's a landmark business district. It's one of the biggest pieces of our identity as on the peninsula is the junction. And if we don't have the Campbell and Ham buildings, we don't have a junction. We basically don't have a junction. So this is proceeding apace. And the final thing I want to mention is in terms of the review of the year, and so many of you in this room had such a big role to play in this, and that is the success of our gala last weekend. In every way you can measure, either tangibly or just in the sixth sense, this was our best gala ever. It built on the success of so many great galas we've had in previous years. It was educational, it was inspiring, it was fun, and I don't know how we're going to top it this next year, but I want to thank everybody here for making it the success that it was. You can read more about it on the blog or on our website. And I hope I did that in less than 10. If you have any questions, see me afterward. We're going to try to get this through and get you out of here by noon. My next task is really an honor to do because this is a tradition we've done ever since the beginning of this organization 32 years ago, and I was there back then, where at our annual meeting we recognize and give a moment of silence to those who are our members and supporters who have passed away over this past year. And one of my favorite phrases, just in general, but also in relation to the Historical Society, is that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And I want you to think about the fact that all of you are giants, that future generations are going to be standing on your shoulders. The names from this past year, roughly this past year, are Kermit Franks, Sylvia Odom, Catherine Orsi, Nancy Biney, and Patricia Wright. And we'll just take a few moments here. Thank you for your thoughts. Next, we've got to keep Marcy going and standing here. So Marcy, if you could scoot on up to the front microphone. We've got two more pieces of business on our agenda, bylaws and election of officers and trustees. Marcy's doing the bylaws section, so take it away, Marcy. Is the mic still on? Actually, no, we're going to make it clear to the change.
So the bylaws, you have a copy in your hand, and the way these are proposed is that any wording that we would like taken out has a line through it, and any words that are added are underlined. And I want to preface this by saying most of this is really a little bit of housekeeping. As a society, we've been an organization since 1982, and the bylaws have been amended a few times to make a few changes. But this was more of a, 34 year? Is it
32 years, 1984.
Oh, yeah. Of course. So it really is a chance to get some cleanup and kind of bring us up to date with what we're doing. So with that, if you want to just kind of follow along, the first thing that we really did was to shorten our mission statement so that it's used on our letterhead, it's used in all of our communication, and it really simply states that our mission is to promote local heritage through education, advocacy, and preservation. You've probably seen that over the last couple of years, so that's just bringing that in line with what our practice has been. And we took out the remaining language there just because we really didn't feel like we needed it. We did put in bold the mission. That's not really a change, we just bolded it, and also the statement of purpose. And we left the statements of purpose mostly. We did take out some language defining a museum. We thought that was a little bit redundant. Not redundant necessarily, but unneeded. Going down, we wanted to make it clear that our purpose was to maintain a library of works that were pertinent to our mission. Throughout this entire document, you will see references where we've struck out the word executive when it refers to the board. And we did that because there was really some confusion. We are a board made up of 5 officers and currently 9 trustee positions. So that term, the board, is what we really are referring to. And it got a little confusing when we used the executive committee. Was that really the full board, or was that just the officers? So we simply took it out. And you'll see that throughout this entire document. Second page, again, under trustees, we added some language so that it would be a little bit clearer about trustee positions, any board members, officer or trustee, may be removed for a majority vote of the board for just cause. And that could be a number of things that we'll define in policy. And with that, I want to explain that some of the things that were coming out of this bylaw will be written in policy. And in fact, we have an example of one of those policies that we've just written But there are a lot of policies and practices that we've done since the beginning or along the way in this last 30-some years, and they aren't written. And so that's really the focus. We've gotten a committee formed to review the policies that are written, update them if we need to, and at least date them so that they are current. And I think this reflects where we are with our board. We've had a board this last year that's been terrific and working together so well. And here we are with some new people coming on and a new slate of officers, and it's very exciting. So our work ahead of us, there's always work to do. There's never a dull moment. Moving on. Just adding a little term under officers that an individual may be an officer and a trustee. That came from our advisory council attorney, Jordan Pecker. We added, let's see, we changed the president definition a little bit, and that's because we have added a significant position in our organization. And we did that 3.5 years ago. We added our executive director position, and that person is currently Clay Eals. So without putting every single staff position in, we felt we needed to leave the curator position in the bylaws and add the executive director. So there's a little change there that will be defined even further down the road. Any questions so far? Nancy?
Why was the change made to delete or to authorize the president to discharge the executive director without the approval of the board?
I don't.
The phrase "subject always to the approval of the board" is deleted, and so that it's the president alone that has the authority to appoint and discharge the executive director.
I think that's a goof.
We certainly could put that back in.
I just
That's in section B under officers under the president. Kerry, you have a-
Well, I just
is it to this same?
Yeah, back on trustees, there's just one typo on the second, where it starts 1/3 trustee shall be elected. Down on the third line, just after the number 3, with 1/3 to serve
Oh, yes.
1 year. And I would suggest also that we eliminate the words his and her office and his and her by the executive board under number 3 by president, and simply replace it with gender neutral language of the office.
I'm sorry, which line?
Under number
Page
under
2.
Page
A or B?
2, officers,
Okay.
the number 3 by president.
Yes.
The last sentence, the president shall see that the bylaws are duly observed and shall perform all such duties as are incident to the office or as may be required by the executive board. Or as may be required of the president by the.
We'll take that as a friendly amendment as well as Nancy's. Are folks in agreement so far? Tia, are you able to capture this? Oh, thank you so much. Okay. All right. I think that's very good. I just have to say, we've had 2 different committees working on the bylaws. We had one last year, and we had a couple of amendments that we made, and this is a huge body of work, and I appreciate the fact that the membership is here today and helping us finalize this document. Thank you so much. Moving on to page 3. Membership secretary, that position was vacant for a number of years, and for the last year we did have a candidate, and then sadly we lost that candidate. She's here today, and she's working very hard still as a volunteer, so we appreciate thank you for that. But now we have a new person running for a position. We will meet shortly. And I think it's implied, the staff already does some work. So this wording that is the last sentence, staff will assist by performing some of the functions of this position. I don't think we need that anymore because we intend to maintain a membership position, membership secretary position. Written documents under 9. I don't know whether it's a line through 9, that's a typo. Should be a line through it. Under contracts, deeds, instruments shall be made by the corporation in accordance with the order of the board and shall be signed by 2 officers, one of whom should be the president or an officer and the executive director. And that reflects our change in adding an executive director. Lisa?
I think this is pretty easy to solve with the way that the president's section was
Can
written.
you stand so people can hear you?
I'm sorry, we have a voice.
I know.
I think that this is very easy to solve. And this section is left as written. But looking back at the president's section, it says that the president shall sign all written contracts with the corporation. And maybe just eliminating that piece from the president's section.
Or we could add the words or as delegated.
Yeah.
Is there a preference amongst the body here today? I would suggest then that we add the words or as delegated to the president's duty. Under the president's description, the president will sign all documents and deeds, etc., or as delegated. Okay. All right. On to page 4. Section 5, this is where we added the statement about the executive director. The executive director shall be hired by the president in conjunction with the board. The executive director is responsible for overall day-to-day management of the organization, focusing on fundraising, community outreach, and volunteer recruitment. The executive director hires and supervises staff. The board will form a hiring committee when the position becomes vacant. And this position was established as an executive position in 2012. Slightly changes the curator's position, as Clay explained earlier. The curator is now in our position, and we have a museum operations staff person. And so the curator then changes to the last sentence being stricken. And then we come to any questions? Kerry.
Do we need to add language about the new position?
No, Kerry's question is, do we need to add language about the other new position, the museum operations? I don't think so, because we want to have those things in policy. Rather than changing the bylaws, we have other staff and we have contracted positions as well. We have a gardener and a bookkeeper that are contracted. So we could, as we grow and need positions, we don't want to be changing the bylaws. But these 2 positions are very significant to our organizational processes and how we do our work.
Marcy?
Yes.
Is there, can you maybe explain the rationale under executive director shall be hired by the president in conjunction with the board? Isn't the president embedded in the board? So the suggestion would be shall be hired by the board? Because here you're singling out the president, maybe there's rationale.
Right, and I think to keep in, that's a very good point, Steve, thank you. I think to keep in alignment with what the president's duties are, the president is sort of like the bus stops here with the president, which I'm happy to hand over to someone else this year. But how about if we put in this sentence then, director shall be hired by the president in conjunction with the full board, if we added this full board? Lisa?
Just a comment on the mechanism. There literally has to be an individual who does the actual hire of the position.
Oh, that's true.
And so the whole board isn't going to come into the room and have the whole board, they may be involved in the interviewing process, walking through all, selecting it, but there has to be an individual who really has responsibility for it.
I agree, and signing the person on, I agree. So how about then, Steve, thank you for your suggestion and catching that. How about if then we strike in conjunction with the board?
Or say with the approval of the board.
With the approval of the board? As friendly amendments, is that agreeable to folks?
Yeah.
So that would read, the executive director will be hired by the president with approval of the full board.
You say it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy. The executive director shall be hired by the president with approval of the full board.
Just board.
Yeah.
Just board with approval of the board.
full.
Yeah.
Then that means it has to be, everybody has to say, it has to be unanimous.
Ah. Thank you. Agreeable to everyone so far?
Yeah.
All right. The other thing we changed just slightly in the curator's definition, second line, oversee all matters relating to the museum operations. We added collections and exhibits just to really highlight that, because that is the word, primary duty that was missing from this explanation. So then we come to membership. And membership has been something that has kind of waxed and waned a little bit over the years of our society, and we have changed the categories of membership to make it look appealing to the time, and to add certain verbiage that was, it would attract people, like pioneer, heritage, and so forth. So what we've done is to suggest that we take all of these categories out of the actual bylaws and put them in a policy that we actually have an example of today. So Jenny, do you want to?
Sure, I'll hand it out.
Yeah, sure. We formed a policy committee, as I referred to earlier, about, you may have to share, because I don't know that I brought a full amount of copies. We formed a committee to work on the policies that we have that are existing, and that we'll be reviewing, and we've done a few. But there are many policies that are practiced that we need to write. And this is one example that came out of the bylaws that we're putting in policy. And this means that you folks don't have to gather for a meeting every time we want to change a policy. Does that make sense to people? And the categories of membership that are on this policy now are reflective of what we've been doing pretty much for about 6 years, but also then revised again by Vicki Brockhead. She was our membership secretary for a couple of months last year. And before that, and still is a major volunteer. So thank you again, Vicki, for your work with that. And you may have noticed the flyer. If you're not a member of the society today and you want to become a member, you can vote today if you sign up on the membership form and become a voting member today. Anybody have a copy? Yes, sir.
On the $1,000 one,
Yes.
how about eliminating the first word? Sounds like that would be his.
What is the first word?
His checkbook. Why not just have founder?
I'm sorry. You know,
Funder. It says
Funder.
Funder.
Or founder.
You know what? I didn't even get my own copy. Oh. Is it? That's terrible.
There you go.
I thought I'm sorry, if I made it here, I thought I copied it right off of the challenge. Oh, should it just say challenge? Challenge fund? I think that this terminology got changed to acknowledge the idea that if someone donated a $1,000 gift in any, in a year, that they would be recognized as what we use at the gala as our major fundraiser, as a challenge fund donor. So this year we had 15 people or couples that actually donated $1,000 specifically for that. And we use that fund to challenge other folks that are at the gala to match or exceed, if they can, those donations. Does that make sense? So is there some other, I'm sorry, can you say again what your thoughts were, sir, about?
No, I just thought it was
Does anyone else have another idea, a different word they'd like to see in that place? Melissa, did you?
I was just gonna say that, Jenny is on that policy committee, so it might be a good after bylaws conversation. We'll have feedback on policies.
That's true, we can do that. So if you have ideas, please speak to Jenny, or Dora Faye is also here on our committee. We had help from Joey Richardson as well, so, or me, and we'll consider a different word. But all ideas are welcome, so thank you. All right, moving on. Doing good, I think. All right, rules of order. We just inserted on the rules of order, number 7, that we would use the most current edition of Robert's rules, because of course those things change. That's the only other change on that page. Last page, our advisor and attorney, Jordan Herker, felt that we did not have to have a corporation seal, so he suggested we just take that out. And so we renumbered, it doesn't have a number on it, but the fiscal year is renumbered to number 10. And the fiscal year for accounting is then changed from January 1 to December 31st to make it clear. And all of these proposed changes for today with some friendly amendments are what we're bringing to you. Is there a motion to approve these new bylaws?
I move that we approve the bylaws as amended.
Thank you, Dora Faye. Is there a second? Second. Nancy Sorensen, second. Any other questions or suggestions at this time? Kerry?
I know we talked about this in one of the meetings, but.
Can you stand so other people can hear you, Kerry? Thank you.
Sorry. Just one question about, are all the officers and board trustees required to be members of the society? It's not anywhere in here, and does that need to be included?
I think that we would do that in a policy rather than changing bylaws.
Yeah.
I don't know what could come in the future of that, but I think that's better in a policy.
Thank you.
May?
Maybe Nancy can help with this, but the last phrase doesn't really read properly to me.
Which phrase? Where?
The proposed amendments are the
Oh.
amendments.
It would be, yes, it would be as amended at the November 12th.
Yes, and we would reword that.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So that would be, we have another friendly amendment. Thank you, May. Are people agreeable to that?
Yes.
Because that would actually be the words that we would use. All right, any other? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're up.
All right. Hang on, get myself organized here.
Great. Great.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Yep, okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Susan Clark. My name is Kerry Korsgaard. Okay. Thanks. My name is Kerry Korsgaard, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm a trustee on the board of the Southwest Seattle Historical Society, and I've been appointed by the board of officers to conduct our election this morning. So, welcome. If you could turn to the back side of the first page of the actual agenda. You will see the slate of officers and trustees that our board nominating committee is recommending for your consideration. If you want to take a couple of minutes or a minute to read through that if you haven't had time, that would be fine. I would like to ask too that the officers and the people on the trustees that are going to be elected or voted on, if they would stand just a moment so people could put a face to a name, and that way everybody will know who they are. Great. Lovely, thank you. Alrighty. The officers serve a one-year term, and so the nominees would take effect January 1st, 2017, and serve through December 31st, 2017. Could a member of everyone present, please move to elect the slate of officers recommended by the nominating committee?
I move that the slate as presented be approved and the secretary be directed to issue an elective ballot.
Thank you very much. And Jenny's going to help me with the count too today. Could we have a second on that?
Seconded.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. Okay. Would anybody like to nominate someone else for any of the officer positions? We have a couple of openings.
No, not for officers, we don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Thank you, Blake. For officers, we don't have. Okay. Let's see. Where am I? All right.
I think you have there's a motion, Kerry, that we need to discuss or vote on.
Right. We can have a discussion of the nominees. If anyone would like to speak for or against any of these officer nominees. Yes, May?
Well, I would just like you to individually at least have the
Mention the,
have them stand. So
Have them
I think
stand.
the group standing really does it for me.
okay. So could Karen Sisson stand for president?
I would just like to say that I'm very excited to be able to work with the group, and I will be standing on Marcy's shoulders, so I hope you can handle that with all of her experience, so I'm excited to be here.
Peter Nelson, Vice President.
I'm excited for the next meeting.
Ron Aaron for our treasurer.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, I don't know if he was saying, yeah. Taking minutes.
I have my computer.
Right. And Crystal Dean for our membership secretary.
I was lucky enough to be trained by the expert herself.
Yes.
All the experience that I need. I'm excited though.
Yeah. I know, Carol, you're happy about this too. Thumbs up. Excellent. Okay. Let's see, now where are we? All right. Now we can also have a discussion for the nominees for trustees.
No, you need to vote on this motion.
Oh, we need to vote on the motion. I'm sorry. I'm skipping ahead here. So now we would like to vote on the officers' positions for 1 year.
Call for a vote, show of hands.
I'm going to call for a vote, and everyone voting raise their hand. We need to count.
Well, are they voting yes or no? Or
Yeah, this is voting yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Our officers are elected. All right. Let's see. Now we can have a discussion of the nominees. Would anyone like to speak for or against, or would the nominees like to speak?
Now you're going to trustees now, so you're repeating the process. You need to
Oh,
call.
I'm sorry.
Need to call for a motion.
I'm sorry. I need to
The
call
back
for a
page.
motion for, to elect the trustees for,
On the slate.
on the slate.
I move that
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
I move that the slate of trustees as proposed be approved, and the secretary be instructed to issue an elective ballot.
Thank you, thank you, and Laura Faye, thank you for seconding. All right, give me a moment here. Would anyone like to nominate, we do have a couple of open positions, would anyone else like to nominate any of the trustee positions, including the 2 vacant 3-year positions? Seeing no one. Moving on. We can now have a discussion of the nominees for trustees. And now would anybody like to speak for or against any of these trustee nominees?
Have them stand again.
If they could stand, that would be helpful.
I'm Sandy. I'm on the bottom of the person. And
I've
been fortunate enough to work on 2 committees this past year. One was the County of These Walls Baton and also the Gateway Committee. So I am very excited to be more involved with the society as well.
Thank you, Sandy. Marcy?
Yes, stepping down as president, I am running for a 1-year term so that I can help the transition and continue to work. All of the volunteers.
Thank you, Marcy. Anyone else?
Bonnie Bromley. This will be my 4th year. I usually just take a year at a time because I don't know how long I'm going to be there, but I think they are at least 2 years.
The thing that I am so concerned about
Thank you,
is
Bonnie.
I filled a 1-year slot. Don't worry about it. Okay. You're shifting from that. Okay. This is next year. You have to go into a 1-year slot. The president.
Okay. Sorry. If there's no more discussion, then we will conduct a vote by a show of hands. All in favor of this slate of trustees, please raise your hand so we can get a count.
If you're one of the trustees, can you vote?
Yes, because you're voting for the whole slate.
Kerry, are you voting? Okay. Yep.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Got it all the way around the room. So, thank you, everyone. And
Opposed and abstained.
And that's right, I have to officially ask for if there's anyone opposed or any abstentions. Thank you very much, everybody. We now have our elected board of trustees and officers. And I'm going to turn the program back to Clay, who will introduce our program. Thank you, Clay. And thanks for all your help, everybody.
You all met Susan Clark earlier. I'm just here to introduce her, who will then take you through the program. I just want you to know how special this is. This is a rare opportunity for us to get inside these walls, if these walls could talk, right? And often we drive by. The only time that many of us come to the Mount is when we have somebody, a friend or a family member who's here, but we don't really realize just the monumental history that the Mount itself has, and then the Sisters of Providence going way back before that. So once again, I introduce Susan Clark, who will take it away. Thanks.
Thank you. And that is so true. I remember talking with one of our residents once, and she said, you know, Susan, I have always lived on 35th Avenue Southwest. When I was a little girl, my parents bought a house there. I lived there until I got married, and then my husband and I bought a house a little farther north, and then here I am at the Mount, so I've always lived. So that's one of many stories. I have the pleasure and honor of introducing Sister Charlotte Van Dyke, one of our Sisters of Providence. After Sister Charlotte entered the Sisters of Providence, she was a teacher for 5 years before returning to school to get her nursing degree at the University of Portland. She's also received her master's degree in her MBA from the George Washington University in 1969. She has served in several administrative positions within our Providence hospitals throughout the system. She did that for the next 20 years. And then she went back to school and got her law degree from the University of Puget Sound and practiced law for the next decade in Seattle. In 2004, she was elected to the Provincial Council of the Sisters of Providence and served that as a 5-year term. She's now retired and living here in West Seattle. She's an active member of Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish, just down the street, and she continues to volunteer with several agencies and organizations, and she's active on several boards, and she's one of our former board members here at the Providence Mount St. Vincent Foundation. So Sister Charlotte will walk us through a history of a bit of this building and also the sisters coming to Seattle. Thank you.
And I can still walk. This is an aside, but the introduction reminds me of Archbishop Conley, who one time opened his remarks by saying, "I'm very happy to be, well, anywhere at 98." So ditto. The history of Providence Mount St. Vincent begins way back in Montreal. Montreal in 1800 was a village. It was not the bumbling city that it is today. And there were many people that lived there who had emigrated from the United States to avoid the United States Revolution, the revolution against England. They wanted to remain English loyalists. And in 1800, Emily Gallman was born as the 18th child in the family. Her mother went to heaven soon afterwards, and I think after doing all of that, she deserved it. But it left Emily without a mother, and so Emily was raised by her auntie and grew up to be a socialite. She was very popular, but she was very selective and did not marry at the age that many women in Montreal did. So she was considered really kind of an old maid, but she married in her 20s. I mean, who can say? Anyway, Emily Gallman became, let me just finish her personal history. She married Monsieur Gallman, who was a wealthy man and had actually gotten to the altar one previous time and decided at the very last minute that he didn't want to get married and walked out on the wedding ceremony. So when she became engaged to Mr. Gamlin, people said, oh my gosh, you know, she's taking a big risk. But it was a very happy marriage. He died shortly after the 2 children were born and left her a legacy of a mentally handicapped man. And she had promised to take care of him. And then she had him and her 2 children to care for. Shortly after that, her children died. By the age of 28, Emily Gamlin was a widow and had lost her entire family. It was a very, very hard time for her. And she went to talk to church leaders and what should she do. And in the meantime, she was very active with the Ladies of Charity. And the bishop said, well, you know, this work is too much for you to do alone. She had been very generous with the poor people. She took in widows into her own home. There was no such thing as Social Security in Montreal at that time. So she took people into her own home and took care of them. The bishop decided that it would be a good idea to have a religious community take care of all of these works of the Ladies of Charity. And he began to build an asile, that was a French name for an institution that was going to be kind of all things to all people. And he went to France to ask the Daughters of Charity. Remember the God's Peace? That's a community that were invited to come and run that institution. So the institution was very nearly completed when he got word that the sisters had decided to go to Africa rather than to Montreal. So he said, well, I'll found my own community. So the Ladies of Charity with whom Emily Gamlin had been working were invited to become the first Sisters of Providence. But Mother Gamlin was not one of them. First of all, the bishop told her she was too old. Too old? She was like 30. But anyway, they started the Sisters of Providence. There were 7 candidates, and one of them decided at the last minute that she would not go through and take her vows. So Emily Gamlin petitioned again and was finally accepted. Well, she had obvious leadership, and she became the first superior of the Sisters of Providence, and is now considered our foundress. We number ourselves. It was kind of interesting in the old days. My number was 5,523. I was the 5,523rd sister to take vows as the Sisters of Providence. Emily Gamlin was number 1. Now, following Emily Gamlin, there were a number of girls in Montreal who devoted their life to the works of charity, one of whom was Esther Parasol. And Esther Parasol became Mother Joseph. Her number was 13. So it's a ways back. Mother Joseph, we call her Mother Joseph because she eventually, I'll tell you the rest of her story. She and 4 other sisters, 2 of whom were novices, but were chosen to go with her to the far west because they spoke English. Mother Joseph and the other 2 spoke only French. And they came west at the invitation of Bishop Blanchette. You know Blanchette High School here in Seattle, named after him. Bishop Blanchette invited the Sisters of Providence to send a group of women to help with the works of charity, caring for the poor, caring for the sick, caring for the elderly. And Mother Joseph, with her entourage of 4 very young, Mother Joseph herself was in her 30s at the time, came to the West, not knowing the language, not knowing what they would read, arrived on the bank of the Columbia River, where the bishop greeted them with his lieutenant, and they had their baggage, and they were standing on the pier, waiting for what would come next. And pretty soon Mother Joseph got impatient, and she said, Bishop, where are we to live? And the bishop said, And his assistant said, They hadn't even thought of where the sisters would live. So the next thing Mother Joseph did is she said, well, what's in your attic? And the 5 sisters lived in the bishop's attic. until Mother Joseph, who was very handy with building, built, basically it was just a box. And that became the first convent. It also became the first hospital. The sisters actually took in sick people in this one-room building that they had built to care for them. So that was the beginning of Providence works in the West. From that slender beginning, Mother Joseph founded, I don't have the exact number, and I know that you're going to want to, we'll let Susan look that up, but I think it's 27 hospitals in the West before she died. She took horseback, went into the mining camps and the lumber camps, and begged for money to help her charity to take care of the people that she was taking care of. And actually built 27 hospitals before she died. Can you imagine that? And of course you know that because of that, Mother Joseph is one of the 2 statues in Statuary Hall representing the state of Washington. She was not a very pretty woman. You know, I think the artist could have dressed her up a little, but he didn't. He told the truth in casting that statue, that bronze statue, that you'll find also in the state capitol. So anyway, in the meantime, there were a number of institutional works of the Sisters of Charity. Parallel to that, in the city of Seattle, there was a big problem of homelessness. Doesn't that sound familiar? So the city had, city fathers had erected what they call poorhouses, and it was parallel to the works of the Sisters of Providence. We had institutions here at the time taking care of. Providence Hospital was the first hospital in the city, and we were doing all of this work for the poor. Eventually, all of that came together, and in 1914, Bishop O'Day said, well, we need to have an institution that will care for elderly people. And guess what else happened in 1914? World War I got in the way. So they had to delay, and eventually it was revived in 1920. And they collected money and got an architect and so forth. So, yes?
Sorry.
We did, I think you got ahead. No, moving ahead.
Okay.
The city of Seattle, meanwhile, was also kind of like a village. And I'm almost afraid of what's happening now with all the cranes in Seattle and all the buildings. We're a whole different kind of place. But it was after this that they put together a board of directors. And there's one woman in this. I'm not sure who that is. Do you know who that is? She's got some homework to do. So, you know, things always work better when there's a woman there, doesn't it? Yeah. So she was there, and these are the founders, the actual founders of they called it a poorhouse, and then they called it, you know, home for aged. And Providence Mount St. Vincent was born. All of the architecture and everything came together, and in 1924, Providence Mount St. Vincent was opened. The first superior for Providence Mount St. Vincent was Sister Philip. This is the habit that we all wore, even when I entered 100 years later. So it's kind of interesting that continuity is still there. I like to say that the community that I entered had not changed for 100 years. It was quite an adjustment, I can tell you. But this isn't about that. Okay, Providence Mount St. Vincent was the headquarters for the Sisters in the West. It was also the novitiate. And we began all of these works under the one roof. This is what it looked like in 1953 when I came here and we began to serve the people. Next. These are novices. I think I'm there on the right side facing the altar. We wore these white starched capes. We called them wings. When you were a costume, you didn't have wings, but when you became a novice, you got wings. And that meant that you were an official member of the community, but had not taken the formal vows yet. So this very chapel is the chapel that was the chapel for the novitiate. The novitiate was on the 4th floor, and we would dart in the door up there in the choir loft and say quick evening prayers or whatever we came by. The sisters kept complete silence except when we were in meetings or something. We didn't gossip with each other. We didn't talk to each other. We didn't tell jokes. It was really a change of life for most of us. And so the novitiate, after 2 years, we became full-fledged Sisters of Providence. And I think you've heard my own history. It's not unique. There are many sisters that have done many things in their life. So the work of the Sisters of Providence went on. The history of Providence Mount St. Vincent is incredible. We have archives that tell all of the different iterations, all of the different things that we've done over the years. We've modernized. Yes. I'm not really sure what this is. Do you know what this is?
That was one of the first fundraising events at Providence Mount St. Vincent. It was auxiliary group.
Fundraiser, wow. Don't we know about that? Okay. The sisters staffed the Mount almost exclusively for the first few years. And then gradually people who were experts in geriatrics began to come aboard. There were more nursing personnel that were not sisters. And today, there are a few sisters that visit people regularly. I volunteer here on Tuesdays. And there are sisters that come over from our own retirement, which was built on the west side of this building. And that's all sisters in that retirement area. You can see the difference in the way the people who live here are living. We took away the big dormitory sort of facility and built the private apartments. There are one-room apartments, there are two-room apartments, there are apartments that are very elegant. They all have fantastic views. As you can see, providentially, the sisters chose a great place to build Providence before the neighborhood grew up around it. So even in my own novitiate, I can remember standing on those were open porches at the end of each wing. And we would stand out there and we'd look at the world we left behind. There was a McDonald's right at the bottom of 35th. And this was 1953. They had a sign up above, and they would give you a change every day of the number of hamburgers that McDonald's had sold. Do you remember that? Yeah. So we would look at that and we would wish we could have hamburgers. So moving on, it didn't really show the children. I think the major change here at Providence Mount St. Vincent was the opening of the Intergenerational Learning Center. We have a large daycare facility here. There's an intermingling of the children with the residents who live here. They have a parade every day. And if they're good kids, you know, the leader of the parade is always the child that's been a good kid this day. The elderly people help sometimes. They go down to hold babies, or there's one woman who's a retired teacher, and she's always teaching the children when she goes down to the daycare center. So that is one of the highlights and one of the major changes here. We also have outreach. There are people that are brought by buses to get physical therapy, get updated on things. They come in for the day and we go back to their line where it is. Other than this, the other major change is that the sisters' retirement is not in the same building. It used to be in that wing, but it's now at St. Joseph Residence, which faces the courtyard, but it has an address of 37th Avenue Southwest. So here we are. We're in the middle of history. There's more to come, and it's lovely to have you all here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Sister Charlotte. We really appreciate that perspective. And as the expression goes, And today, I'll just tell you briefly what the mount includes today. Physically, the building is sort of in the shape of an H, sort of down on its side. So everything behind me, all of this wing from floors 1 to 5, these are assisted living apartments. We have 109 assisted living apartments. Behind you, all the way across, is what we call our skilled nursing neighborhoods, as we call them. And there are, we have about 173 beds. The rooms are either private or semi-private. And this is for our residents who need 24-hour care, sort of the nursing home part. Up on the 5th floor behind you, actually the entire 5th floor, is our short stay unit. It's our transitional care unit. It's for patients, and that's the only floor that we use the term patients. It's for those who've just been discharged from the hospital, but they still need, say, 2 to 4 weeks of rehab or nursing care before they can go home, do a lot of knee replacements, hip replacements, heart attacks, strokes, things like that. So we see over 800 patients a year in our TCU. There's a lot of coming and going throughout every day. And as Sister Charlotte mentioned, our child care center, which actually opened in 1991, the Intergenerational Learning Center. The past year and a half has really been very, quite extraordinary for us. As it turns out, we are actually the subject of a forthcoming documentary. Perhaps you've seen things online about a nursing home and a preschool in Seattle. If you Google that, you'll get we lost count. There have been so many stories about us. But a local filmmaker came to us in 2012 and said, I think this intergenerational component is really great. I'd love to do a documentary about you. So she's still working on it, but she has created this beautiful trailer that went viral, and we have received international media attention from Australia, Canada, all over the United States. The Today Show has been here, it has a piece pending, CBC, PBS NewsHour did a story on us, and many of these clips are on our website if you'd like to see them. So we're just really feel so fortunate to be involved in this documentary, and hopefully after the first of the year it will be out. So that's Providence Mount St. Vincent in a nutshell, what we are today. The average age of our residents is 92. Yes, and our employee population represents over 50 countries, 50. So we have a very diverse employee population, and it's just really a very international community here. Philosophically, our feeling is that this is a resident's home, this is your home, so we really try to make it like that in every sense of the word. If you'll notice, our employees, our nursing staff, and our direct caregiving staff do not wear scrubs. They will just wear street clothes. We try to keep overhead paging to a bare minimum. Clay, if you want to sleep through breakfast, that's perfectly fine. We'll bring you breakfast when you wake up. So it's really up to the resident to decide how he or she spends her days, and everything we do is focused around the resident and trying to make this feel like home.
You want to ask for questions?
Does anyone have any questions about Providence Mount St. Vincent? And, I know you're going to get a lot of information in the archives, but any questions about that? Yes?
What role do the sisters play in the faith life in this residence today?
And can you repeat the question?
The question is, what role do the sisters play today and also in the faith life? Well, as Sister Charlotte mentioned, many of the sisters have retired, but they still are over here as we have a very active spiritual care department. Of course, we welcome all faiths, but we do have an active spiritual care department, and many of them are volunteers, and many of them just volunteer in other activities in departments. But unfortunately, the number is declining. We don't see as many as we used to. And the part as far as the spiritual faith goes, again, as I said, we welcome all faiths. The chapel has Catholic services, Protestant services, and then our spiritual care staff and our volunteers make visits to our residents, so it's definitely still a big part of life here. Yes?
When the small group of sisters first came to the state of Washington from Montreal on the Columbia, where were they established?
Okay.
Repeat the question.
They were asking about this when the sisters came here and where were they established. So Loretta Green, who's our archivist, can easily answer that question for you. So is that okay if we wait till we get to the archives about that, to answer that question? Okay, all right. Yes?
I was a nursing student here in 1972, and I wondered if you still have nursing students here.
We do. I should mention she's a nursing student here. We do have a wonderful relationship with Seattle U and its nursing school. So we do have nursing students who still come here and do their practicum. We also have a partnership with Seattle Public Schools, and so some of their students come here throughout the school year and learn some job skills. We also have a very active volunteer services program. If anyone's interested in volunteering, we have over 250 active volunteers, and we really could not do it without our volunteers. They assist with our outings, to do clerical work, helping out just patient or resident visits. So they're very key. They play a key role here at the Mount as well. Okay, well, thank you, and I believe we're going up to the archives now, correct?
Yeah, I'll come.
Okay, or is Loretta talking?
No.
Okay, we are about a minute away from finishing this meeting. Thank you for coming this morning. We do have an after tour of the archives, and there are about 7 people who signed up in advance for that. And some of you may be inspired to come along on that tour. Please know that we have a maximum of 15. And so, where, Susan, should we gather for this? Right up front? Or in the back?
In the back? Yes.
So if you're interested in the archive tour, come find Susan in the back, and that'll commence momentarily. Any other questions or comments for the good of the order today? Thank you for coming. We'll see you next year.